Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Warnich of statewide news service, jbiztechvalley.com, and now columnist for the Jewish Press.
Yeah, the Jewish Press, it's a nationally, a national publication, weekly publication, and it focuses on the Orthodox Jewish community and around the country. And I have a column called Albany Beat, and I talk about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. So I'm very much into looking for different ways that that we can improve this connection between the culture of Judaism and the government. So with us today,
Yeah, let's see what we have right now.
View-Georgette Steffans. She's the executive director of the Downtown Albany Business Improvement District.
I am,
So
yes.
welcome
Thank you.
to the Jewish View.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
And I wanted first to get an area of what the catchment area is for the Downtown Albany bid, and then maybe you could talk about some of the platforms that you focus on to get more business into the downtown.
Absolutely. So we, in downtown Albany, we cover mostly the central business district. We do go in a little bit over to Madison Avenue. So we are a 50-block area, and roughly from Eagle Street, the state capitol and City Hall, down to Broadway, Clinton Avenue to Madison Avenue. And again, we cover...
How far west?
So we go, yes, Eagle Street, we cut down sort of
Lark
through...
Street?
We don't go to Lark Street.
There's the
So
Lark
we're
Street
just-
bid. There's
right.
a special Lark Street
Lark
bid.
Street has their own business improvement district, and then Central Avenue, actually, starting at Lark Street, heading out to the city limit. There is one, I believe Anthony Capiz was here as an earlier guest. So there are 3 business improvement districts in the city. But so we're mostly focused on really the office epicenter of the city, where you find the true commercial office buildings in downtown.
So do you have a powerful district, the business improvement district, because it seems like all the players that, that make the city hop are really in your district, not so much in the Central Avenue or the Lark Street area. It's more in your district.
Absolutely. We have Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies in downtown. We have all the major banks in the region have either a retail branch or their corporate headquarters downtown. CEFCU recently moved downtown. Capital Bank moved their corporate headquarters downtown. And then several law firms, lobbyists. Our location, the proximity to the state capitol certainly means that several of the elected officials have offices in our district, as well as City Hall is right in our district. The county executive's office is in our district, and we have the courthouses.
Elk Street's not in your district?
It is not, no.
It's a no man's land.
It is a beautiful street, but unfortunately not covered by one of the business improvement districts.
Right.
Are you looking for like what you're saying is big business? I know the area, of course. And just like nightlife, for example, or people always argue this, I guess the issue is a Saturday night, Albany's not the place to go. I mean, maybe that's not your concern. You were looking for the big businesses and building up the area.
Yeah, we're looking at a full 24/7. Really, we see downtown as the heart of the region, really. That Albany as the capital, as the epicenter for the region, that downtown really is the heart of the region. And so while our primary focus has been, we have 20,000 employees that come in on a daily basis to work. The majority of them then also leave at 5 o'clock. And so how do we capture them? How do we keep them? And how do we grow to be a vibrant city? And most cities are focusing on downtown residential and converting buildings into apartments.
And you had this interesting news conference earlier this year about the parking, the nighttime
We
parking.
did. Yes.
Tell us about that.
I think, so what we really want to do is make it easy for people to do business in downtown, to visit downtown. And that includes daytime running errands, shopping, we have 70 plus eateries in downtown. And then in the evenings, you have the Palace, the Cap Rep, the Times Union Center, major entertainment venues in the Capital Region. So we have been working to have the meters end an hour early, so they end at 5 o'clock. So from 5 o'clock on the street, you can park anywhere and it's free. And then Saturdays and Sundays, it's free in downtown.
So that's the 50-block area.
It is.
So
yep.
how does someone know not
what
to
our
go
district?
One block.
Well, the signs will still say 6 o'clock,
I
so
know,
you definitely
yeah.
want to look at the signs, and then the pay stations will also say 6 o'clock. But the other thing we negotiated was with working in partnership with the city and the parking authority was for their garages to be free from 5 o'clock on.
And how do people know that?
So they have 3 garages. So some of it is through our website, through the press event, and we're starting a social media campaign. People can follow us on Facebook. We have a Twitter account.
Why don't you go on bus boards, put up billboards on the side of buses?
We haven't done that yet. We do that with a lot of our advertising for like Restaurant Week. I live in the city. I follow the buses and read every single ad that's ever on the back of the buses.
I mean, the buses have on the front, save gas, take the CDTA, and so they're saying, don't drive, and you're saying, no, drive, and you could park earlier, so
Right.
for free. So why don't you counter what CDTA is doing and put up bus boards?
They have great visibility, the buses, and that's not a bad idea. I think the other thing we're also trying to say is, as you were talking about the nightlife, is we really want to make sure that people are safe. So the opportunity to, on the weekends, if you've had too much to drink, that you can leave your car, pick it up in the morning, and it's not going to cost you anything. Take a taxi cab home. Parking is going to be free in the garages. In the one garage, it's actually it is staffed and it's lit and it's covered. So it's
Which
a really the one the
Hudson?
Riverfront garage,
Riverfront,
right? So the one that's behind the Dormitory Authority on Broadway. And so we really want to make it easy and safe. The Palace has negotiated a program where you can park for free for any of their events. At the Quackenbush Garage, the one closest to them, sort of behind 677 Prime and near the pump station. And so really,
But there's no
again, making it
signage
easy.
that tells you that. I mean, you got to get that signage out.
It is definitely, signage is something that we are working on, and the campaign to work with the restaurants and the entertainment venues to help spread the word. Capitol Rep is the first place to, they've been promoting it all over, everywhere for their patrons, so that their patrons know when they come that they can park for free.
Now, how did you come to be in this position? I mean, you have a varied background. You really do.
I do. So when I would say my first true professional job was at the Center for Economic Growth. I started as a temp, as a receptionist there at the CEG. And from there was recommended to work as an economic developer for the city. So in the late 90s, 98, 99, I had staffed the mayor's, at the time Jennings, economic development committee that he had pulled together. He had business leaders from the banks, from the Center for Economic Growth, from the corporations that at the time still had their headquarters in downtown. And so I staffed that. I was responsible for the redevelopment of the Corning Preserve and the pedestrian bridge that went over 787. That was one of my main projects that I had while there. And then I was the mayor's representative actually on the Business Improvement District Board. So that several years later, I moved to Boston. I came back because the quality of life in Albany is incredible. I wanted to start a family, and so I wanted to be in an affordable.
Better than Boston?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think so. I think, people say Smallbany, and they use it as such a negative connotation, but to me, Smallbany is great because it's where you get your next job. It's that you know your neighbors, you know what's going on in the region that you live, and the affordability of living in a great community here, that was really attractive to me to start a family.
But you're also director of the Albany Home Store, and I was hoping that you might explain that.
Sure. So that was a city, the city of Albany had an initiative to strengthen the neighborhoods through home ownership. The more homeowners you have in an area, they take care of their properties, they invest in them. Even if they own a two-family, they screen their tenants a little more closely. And so we had created a walk-to-work program through the colleges in the city. So St. Rose, Albany Law School, Albany Med, Sage.
Pharmacy. Yeah.
Yep, Albany Pharmacy. And so the colleges actually had a $5,000 grant program for down payment if you bought a home within walking distance of their campuses. And then we had some additional funding. We did first-time homebuyer classes. Buying a home, if you've never done it, is a daunting process, and you get lots of advice from everyone. And so really helping people understand, were they ready? How did they get their credit score to a point where they were able to buy? How much money did they need down? What it would mean to be a homeowner. Not everyone is ready to be a homeowner, and so helping them really figure out that for themselves. And so it was one piece of an overall neighborhood development program.
And where is the home store now?
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
it is
let's
not
see.
as active. So the Affordable Housing Partnership has taken on a lot of those roles in the Community Renewal Agency, I think, that they have over there.
Not ACAP, no.
No.
Community Renewal, okay.
Yeah, or Community Rural.
Community Action Partnership?
It might be. They have a couple organizations
ACAP,
over there that
yeah.
they do. And so they've taken on a lot of that.
Okay.
Together. And then
But,
the
you know,
Community Development Agency for the city also does have, they still offer for low-income individuals. So ours was market rate and low income.
Okay.
They just have grant programs for low income.
All right, I got to ask you this because you were in charge of the walkway and I didn't know
Yes.
that. And you are the person I got to ask this to.
Yes.
But those bricks,
Yeah.
tell me about the bricks and what are we doing about, you know, I mean, they're
All right, what's the issue? I don't
well, the
even
issue
know.
is that they're not they're not as durable as, I guess, as what they thought that it would be, and they're running, they're discolored, they're fading.
The
I
walkway,
mean,
the
the
actual-
bricks,
Yeah,
they
so
have the
they had
grading.
we had done a fundraising campaign to help pay for the bridge and then also some of the renovations that have happened on the riverfront. And, it is, we built the bridge and there has been limited funds for maintenance. So some of the murals that are also on the bridge, they are in need of some updating and some repairs. Albany, the weather in the winters are certainly not kind to us.
Well, but at least people didn't graffitiize.
They didn't, not at all.
And I thought that was going to happen.
Not
but
at all.
But there's no graffiti on them. It's just weathering from Mother
Right.
Nature. So, but the bricks themselves. I mean, people paid money
So
to
I think
have them engraved.
there have been a few that have broke that I believe have been replaced. I don't know what that long-term plan is for those bricks. That would definitely be a city question.
But were you disappointed that you picked bricks that weren't holding up? I mean,
No, I think the challenge with any exterior, material and project that you do, you need to have the maintenance money behind it to be able to reinvest and to continue to upkeep the project. So I think I've been more disappointed in the additional funding to keep it at the level of when we had sort of first opened it.
because the landing itself, Jennings Landing, is really nice and
It is.
has held up.
It is, and they are
That's
actually
held up.
looking at a phase 2 for the Corning Preserve, and they're looking at the tidal ponds and trying to figure out, is there some way, because the waterfront the Hudson River isn't really accessible, so how do we?
It is.
It is from the land, from the boat launch.
They
But-
keep saying it's not, and you know what? I look at New York City, look at the FDR Drive in New York City. You've been on the East River Drive, the FDR Drive? And they're building apartments and hospitals over the FDR Drive.
Yes.
And they're building, Rockefeller University leans over the, houses apartments are over the FDR Drive with beautiful terraces. All right? If we only had more creative aspect And quite frankly, it's also the train tracks that really,
The
it's not
train is the
787.
biggest issue.
Before 787, you had train
Yep.
tracks, which was a problem getting to the Hudson River. But everyone looks and says 787, and no one wants to talk about the train tracks except when you talk about oil trains.
No, unfortunately, I actually know too well because we had to, the bridge is as high as it is because it's actually the feds and the state needed to approve the amount of clearance because of the train tracks. So I know all too well that that's actually the bigger issue. And even
Yeah.
if you flatten 787, you would still have
the
the
tracks.
train as a major issue. The other issue is that the state has a regulation on the Corning Preserve portion. The city leased it from the state for $1, and they said you can use the land, but you can only have nonprofit uses on there. So we get the question all the time of why aren't there restaurants aren't there? Why aren't there condos? You know, why aren't we building out for profit? You can't even have a bike or a bike rental or an ice cream shop because that's a for-profit.
But do they own, but how, what are the air rights? I mean, that was the land itself, but what about
Well,
the
so
air
over
rights?
787, that would be different, but I don't know directly over the Corning Preserve.
You know, there's so many things that you could do that's innovative and creative, and we just don't have that energy here in the city to do that.
I don't know that I agree with that. I
know,
think that
I
there's.
figured you wouldn't, but that's all right.
That's why I'm here, right?
You're the cheerleader. Go ahead,
Right.
yeah.
I think that there's so many impressive things going on in the city right now.
Yes, there
as
are.
a state capital, and
I'm just talking about the waterfront,
yeah.
okay?
Technically, it's not in
Everything-
my district, and
Okay.
so I haven't been responsible for it for quite
Okay.
some time.
Well, you know, what's in your district, the
Broadway.
convention center.
Yes.
That also, so that's a big thing. Why don't you talk
That is.
about that?
Okay.
That's going to be a big boom. Got her off the hook.
Yeah,
That mark
no,
out
no,
of
that's
there.
okay. So the convention center is slated, it's under construction now, and it's slated to open in January 2017.
There'll be small businesses there. I mean, I'm sure restaurants, little.
Yeah, we've already seen, we had, so the former DeWitt Clinton hotel, which is right on the corner there of Eagle and State, that is being, that is renovated. It's almost done.
The
It's actually
Renaissance.
looking to open October of this year, so in another month.
It's gonna be a Renaissance.
A Renaissance
Right.
hotel. So it's a Marriott's luxury brand, and it's spectacular. We've had some tours inside, and they did a great job of keeping and restoring some of the historical elements, keeping the lobby with telling the story of Albany. And they're going to have an amazing restaurant that's going to have the best views of the Capitol.
But it's not kosher restaurant. It's got to be
I
kosher.
don't think so. It is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we were looking
We
at
do
kosher.
have Sati Deli. I know they have
They're not
a.
kosher.
Well, he does kosher
He
catering,
does catering.
right?
He
Right.
does-
Okay.
He can do
He's a
catering, yeah.
kosher
Off
component
premises,
to
yeah.
it. And so they, so the hotel is, that's because
Okay.
the convention center is going to be there. We had a restaurant that opened directly across. It's an Irish restaurant that opened. And then the expectation is that we'll continue to see additional retailers that will open to meet the needs. They're anticipating about 80,000 conventioneers a year annually that will be coming to the convention center. So that will be a great.
Per year, that's a low number.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
I think with the amount of the state associations that will want to come in and then
Yeah.
also have a lobby day, I think with the ability to join it with the Times Union Center, and it's an opportunity for us to go after having some of the.
But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised when you
That'll
see
be higher?
than 80,000.
Well, I'm always, I'd rather go
So,
lower
yeah,
and then be
okay.
pleasantly
Well,
surprised.
I had Joe Nicola and Lieutenant
Uh-huh.
Governor took us up to the top of the Capitol Bank.
Oh, in the
building
Wellington Row.
In
Mhm.
Wellington Row, and we saw the view from of the state
Of the-
capitol from
during
there.
construction too,
So,
right? Was,
you know,
was the
right,
convention center
it was
under?
September 3rd.
Yeah.
We went up there, and it was very nice. It was very good, nice view, and they got tables up there on the roof, and
Yeah.
it's going to be very nice if you want to have a little to drink or something.
Yeah, they've
But,
done a nice
but I
job.
have to tell you something,
Mhm.
Georgia, and I don't know if you could talk to Gavin Donahue about this or whatever with the convention center. I have been telling them from day one, and repeatedly, that they really need to get a kosher kitchen built in that convention
Okay.
center. And you're going to have, there's no place to really have a really posh wedding or bar mitzvah or whatever, you know.
interesting. Okay.
And people go down to Muncie, they go down to Orange County,
Yeah.
Rockland County.
Yeah.
They go to New Jersey for their weddings and for their bar mitzvahs. And
Yeah.
we don't have anything like what we should have here. And it's much easier when you're building the facility to build a kosher kitchen in than to retrofit later
Right
on.
after the fact. I know, so Angelo Mazzone and Mazzone Catering has won the bid to provide the catering services. I will be happy to, and also SMG, who manages the Times Union Center, they received the contract to manage the convention center. So I'll be happy to pass them on to, as well as to Gavin. You know, Brad Rosenstein of Jax is my board chair, and he also serves on the convention center board. So plenty of connections to pass that word.
But you know, when you have someone who runs an oyster house, and which certainly is not kosher, you know, as saying you want kosher food is not going to resonate too much with him.
Yeah.
But I like Brad, and
Yep.
he's terrific, and I'm glad to see that there's someone who's Jewish being involved in the community and civic activities. So kudos to Brad. But you know, I really think, you know, we'll get and I've been talking to Michelle Bernard, and I've been talking to her people, and I've been, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've mentioned this even on the show here. You know, you really are missing the boat by not having that kosher niche so that you can attract people from Vermont, from Pennsylvania, from upstate, who want to come here and have a kosher wedding and a kosher bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. And you know, you just don't, you know, you
Right,
would be,
it's something that's
you're
definitely
shortchanging
missing.
yourself. So I'm,
All right,
you know,
that's
I'm
a
here
good
to make
pitch
my
over there.
pitch.
All
I'm here to
right.
make my pitch.
Another area, which I know they talk about conventions before, is the Greyhound bus that, I mean,
Yes.
just it's such beautiful land. I mean, maybe it's not on the waterfront, but you would think that that's a nice place, maybe knock down a few things on Broadway.
Well, that's the problem, knocking things down, because they're historic buildings.
Why?
They're
Well,
historic buildings, and in one of the oldest buildings is what Saul
on
had.
the corner there.
Yeah.
On Hudson.
So it is, so that space, you know, the 7 acres that is there is the best, most developable land
that's what I'm
probably in
saying.
the entire city. And so the state actually owns the property because they purchased it through the Convention Center Authority. And so they went out to bid. They had an RFP process looking for developers to propose an idea for some mixed-use development in there. I know CDTA would like to have a new multimodal transportation center. You know, the bus station for sure needs more than a facelift down there. And so the state hasn't really announced yet what they're going to do.
But you know.
I don't. I actually
Oh,
don't
they
know.
didn't
So,
they
so
didn't-
they. I
didn't
think
hear through the
they've
grapevine?
they've
They're going to do
received.
things without your, I mean, why don't they ask you? I mean,
So
like
the
Mark is
city,
saying.
the city has a representative that is part of that process, but most of it is being run through the Office of General Services.
Do we know who that representative is?
Oh,
in
sure.
the city?
It's Sarah Reginelli. She's the president of the Capitalize Albany Corporation.
Okay.
And
That
so,
makes sense. Okay.
Right. And so they've been, you know, sort of the economic development arm for the city. And so she's been working with them on that. They did receive one proposal. I'm not sure if they were pleased or not. So we're sort of waiting to see what they're going to do. I think they also have their hands full with the regional economic development councils and the grants that were just, all the applications that just went in, and then the Upstate Revitalization Initiative, you know, the governor's competition for the $1.5 billion for 3 regions in upstate. So I know the governor's office certainly are very active and very busy, and we're anxious to hear. I think Albany has a great opportunity and a great story to tell with the Nano College and the nanotechnology and some of the things that are happening
And
here,
Schenectady
Global
Community
Foundries.
College coming
Yeah,
in.
well, the education, the universities, and then really our healthcare.
And part of it is a quality of life,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of your platforms.
Yes.
And also beautification. And you're in charge of watering the beautiful flowers along Broadway and other
Yeah, so
streets?
we have we actually have a clean team. So we have a team of staff that go around and broom and pan sweep up the streets. We have a sidewalk machine sweeper, and so they are on 7 days a week to really make sure that downtown is clean. And we work very closely with the police department. We have both an evening and a daytime and an evening beat officer, which the evening beat officer is relatively new. So they're focused just on downtown, and we have great working relationships with them to make sure if there's any issues that we're talking about them and working closely on that.
And I'll tell you something, you know, you go down to Times Square, and there's the Times Square, I don't know if they call it an
Alliance, I
improvement
think they are.
district, the Times Square Alliance, and on the garbage cans you see, you know, their name, that they, I don't know, it means that they put that garbage can there.
I'm
And,
sure they paid for the people
you know,
that are staffed.
And
Yep.
then when they're watering, you know, it's always, you know, Times Square Alliance,
Yep.
and everywhere you know that there's another organization that's helping the city. So, but I don't see that with you. Again, the signage. That's
Yeah, I think so. We have sort of some mixed opinions about that. I think we think that what's more important is that it's getting done and that people are recognizing how clean and
Yeah.
beautiful our city is, and versus whether they think it's us or the city. Now, obviously, my stakeholders, the people that pay into the bid and fund our organization, you know, it's really important that we're communicating that message of all of the things that we are doing, all the advocacy, all the clean and safe and visual improvement projects that we have.
marketing your name.
It
you
is
better-
very
yeah.
important. But I think the other thing is we've really worked to elevate probably more where you see us and you see our name is on these advocacy items like the parking initiative, the downtown residential open house that we just had in August, you know, really trying to promote and tell the story of downtown. And that's probably where you'll see us a little more. Our Clean Team guys do have their logos on all of their uniforms, and they have a name tag with their name on it. You know, they're always willing to help and to ask. But I think more than anything, we want people to feel warm and welcome in downtown.
Let me ask, and I do personally feel warm and welcome.
Thanks.
Jillian's is going to be redeveloped?
Yes, so it's under contract now. Hopefully, the
What's
sale will
coming
close in
in?
November. So it is one of our.
That's on Pearl Street. There was the big entertainment center on Pearl Street.
It was
a
one of
bar, it
the
was a
first things that
restaurant.
opened. I mean, it
Yeah.
really sort of signaled Albany was coming back.
Yeah, it was an anchor, and then they closed many years ago. And
Yeah, it was. It's the business model. You know, the Jillians. They had them in Boston. I think
Right.
the one in Boston probably may be one of the only ones left. But it was, you know, multi-floored pool tables, dance floors,
virtual
arcade games.
Yeah,
Yeah,
arcade
and so that model has changed a little bit. But it really signaled that we had arrived almost in this redevelopment that Jennings had been working towards, and so
And they put in over quite a few $1 million to make that
They
building
did.
happen.
They
So
did.
tell me what else is coming in.
So the new owner is someone who's already in downtown. He owns the Capital American Eatery, which is right next door.
Right.
He owns the Pearl Street Pub, and he owns the new Irish restaurant that I was mentioning that just opened up because of the convention center. He's actually also opening up a grocery store,
Right.
which is very exciting because it's the number one question. Usually it's parking or grocery store, the two
Right.
questions I get asked about downtown. And so he's looking to do a live music venue, and he has been talking to some folks about maybe doing an athletic gym on the first floor as an amenity for the residents that are moving into downtown. And so again, he'll close in November.
And what's the name of the place going to be?
He hasn't decided yet. He's still
Oh.
working on that.
And who's the gentleman who's
His name is Chris Pratt.
Chris? So it's not a Matt Baumgarten production.
It isn't.
Finally.
It isn't.
Okay.
Although his places in our district are also phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he really brands and he knows what his customers want, and it's the type of customer that we want in downtown.
Okay, so now I got to ask you,
Okay.
you know, is that
I love how he keeps on saying, "I got to ask you another question." He's
Well, because
it's like
we're
it's a
running out of
half-hour
time.
show
Yeah, he's
already.
shooting them at
Seth
me.
Rosenblum from
Yes.
Rosenblum Companies has one of the major residential
17 Chapel,
facilities.
the condominium project.
Right, so, you know, I'm just mentioning it because we have, you
Oh,
know,
no, and
the Jewish
we keep
addition
on
to
asking him to find another building. His project was phenomenal. Certainly developing condos are very difficult with the New York state laws. Seth took a huge risk. You know, certainly the first one to do condos, and one of the first ones to do a project of that size. You know, he has 24 units in there. I think the next project that came along had 40 units in. So Seth really, I mean, it used to be a car dealership. you could drive in and the cars were parked on the different levels. So Seth certainly had incredible vision and the quality and the craftsmanship that he put into this building, and everyone. So he has
And it's full
sold the
capacity?
last condo. They were from $300,000 to $850,000, and he sold the last one I think maybe about 6 months ago. He has an incredible, speaking of rooftop decks, there's an incredible rooftop deck there, and so we did a cheers to sort of the future growth of downtown residential. And again, we're still looking. I know Seth is doing a project in Troy, but we're trying to find another building that really meets his needs to do another conversion project.
And we have, yeah, I know we're running out of time, but I just wanted to.
One more question.
So I know that the president of U-Albany used to live there, right?
He did, Dr. Jones.
And then he moved out.
I think the college wanted him to have a little bit larger space to be able to entertain. He's a city guy, he and his wife, and so they really enjoyed being downtown. But I think his duties at the college called him to larger space.
And when you mentioned supermarket, the Cap Rep used to be a supermarket there, right?
Oh, did they? I don't know.
That's why it's the Market Theater.
Oh, gosh, I didn't know
And that's
that.
why it's Market Street.
Yeah, that makes
Mark
sense.
is our residential
The
historian.
historian, yeah.
Okay, so there I go.
Georgette, Dad, thank you very much. You listen, you've come a long way, and you're doing a lot of success, and we'll have to have you back to keep on telling us about all the great things that you're accomplishing.
That'd be
Much
great. Thank you
success.
so
Thank
much.
you.